start with the team profiles. Let's bring in a couple of the stars of the show as we line things up with Emory Hunt and Alex Selesnik. Gentlemen, the NFL always dominates the headlines, right? We had a trade this morning, which we're going to touch on later in the show, but we want to start these team profiles, and I want to start with the Seattle Seahawks. Emory, this is one of those teams and one of those divisions where I think there are so many questions. There are teams that I like, but there's plenty of teams that other people like as well. Seattle, not really high on my radar, Emory. I want to start there with Sam Darnold. I think that's part of the reason they're not super high on my radar. But let's talk about Sam Darnold in terms of his impact in Seattle.
I think he's going to have a great impact. This team looks to be solid. It's not going to be the Minnesota Vikings in terms of the receiving core, but in terms of the offensive line and the backfield, I think they have more than enough ready to go for him to have some success. And when you think about the passing options, he has Cooper Kupp, he has Jaxon Smith-Njigba, they have Noah Fant at tight end. So there's enough there to where this offense can be competitive. And what I love about what Sam Darnold did last year, he stayed healthy for the full season. So that allowed him to stay consistent. It wasn't the ups and downs where he's having success, gets injured, have to restart the process that played him in New York. And so going out there, we saw the talent. I compared him to Tony Romo when he came out of USC, and it was good to see him go out there for a full season with weapons, be able to do what he did as a Trojan. I think he could do some of the same things as a Seahawk.
Alex, perhaps a downgrade in weapons. We know DK Metcalf is out, but JSN certainly a stud. Cooper Kupp, we'll see how much he has left in the tank. Still, without KOC and without some of those weapons that Seattle had, I'm feeling a little lower than Emory, but how about you?
I'm feeling a lot lower than Emory, actually. I just think it was an optimal situation for Sam Darnold last year. You mentioned a quarterback-friendly offense, having Kevin O'Connell, who's been a quarterback whisperer, having an excellent offensive line as well. Prior to last season, Sam Darnold had never appeared in more than 13 games. So pretty much everything went right. And that's even before you look at who he had to throw the football to. So I think pretty much every aspect is a downgrade, coupled with the fact that just everything went right for Sam Darnold last season. So I think there's a lot of question marks going into this year. I think he's a downgrade from Geno Smith. I think it's a tougher situation for Sam Darnold to navigate.
Very, very interesting stuff there as it relates to the downgrade or upgrade or the same grade between Sam Darnold and Geno Smith. Talk to me about the touchdown total. Let's take a look at the betting markets real quick. It's 20.5 and it's minus 110 each way here. Alex, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling about this number? A little too high, a little too low, or perhaps just right?
A little too high. I think a lot has to go right in order for him to eclipse this. Only last year was the only year he's ever thrown for over 20 touchdowns. And again, everything went right, from his health, from the offense, from Minnesota to the weapons, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's going to be a lot more difficult in Seattle. I think they're going to be a run-heavy football team. I think he's going to average probably 13 games. That's pretty much, he played between 11 and 13 games the majority of time he's been in the league. So I think this is a tough number for him. I think he's ultimately going to have to get in 15 games to eclipse this number. So I actually like the under here quite a bit.
All right, Emory, talk to me about this total of 20.5.
I feel like it's just right. And I would lean to the over. What I love about how the Seattle Seahawks football team is constructed is they went out and tried to get better along the offensive line. You saw getting Gray Zabel in the draft helps on the interior. What that means, the run game. You talk about Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Damian Martinez out of Miami. So the run game, I feel like, will be prevalent for Seattle, getting back to that old mantra of how Seattle used to win ball games, run game and defense. Now with Sam Darnold operating off play action, you're not going to put the ball in the air 35 times a game. He can be efficient and kind of minimize him spraying the football around a yard because they're going to run the football. And because 20 touchdowns in today's NFL seems like a very low number, I like it to go over. So right now with the odds, I think it's just right.
Okay, let's look at the NFC West odds. And Emory, this is where I was kind of going with the whole, I think there's a lot of questions in this division because I could make arguments, really good arguments in my opinion, for the 49ers, for the Los Angeles Rams. I think the Cardinals are an emerging team. With that said, I'm a little surprised that at BetMGM, they're plus 450 relative to the Seahawks being last year at plus 500. How you feeling about the Seahawks in terms of their NFC West number at plus 500?
I feel like this is a team that could finish second or third in this division. No one's talking enough about how San Francisco is likely the team to take the step back again. this year. They'll win more games than they won last season. But when you talk about what the Cardinals put together in the offseason via the draft and also free agency, that's a very strong roster. The Rams, we know Sean McVay, his coaching staff, and that scouting department, they will always be competitive. The Seahawks don't look like a bottom dweller to me. Now, granted, someone's going to have to finish fourth, but I would bet more often than not that the Seattle Seahawks, based on how that defense looks, how that run game is supposed to be with the improved offensive line, and an efficient Sam Darnold with some catch-and-run guys and Jaxon Smith-Njigba and also Cooper Kupp, however healthy he's going to be, like you talked about, this team could finish second or third. So right now, I think this is a better play to take them to finish not last.
Alex, based on what we've talked about earlier, I assume you're not taking Seattle at plus 500. Do you think they sort of belong in that fourth spot, perhaps the third spot?
I do think they belong where they're currently at right now. I just think their ceiling really is finishing second or third. I think the most likely probable scenario is they finish last or third. If we look at the rest of the division, I thought the Rams had a very good offseason. Also, we know the 49ers are still a very talented team. I do expect them to take a step back. Maybe not a double-digit win team, but I look at the Rams as a potential playoff team. I think the Cardinals got a lot better. I love what they did in the offseason, really loading up on the defensive side of the football. I think Jonathan Gannon's going to have a lot more success heading into this year as well, especially with a healthy Kyler Murray here. So I think it's going to be tough for the Seahawks to finish even better than second place. I think they're at best a 500 team. So I don't particularly love the odds of them winning the division, certainly. But yeah, I do anticipate they're going to finish second or third or fourth.
All right, you don't love the odds, but you do love props. Let's go to the prop market. You are indeed PropStarz. Let's talk about Jaxon Smith-Njigba because he is a highlight, maybe a highlight reel when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks offense. He had over 1,100 receiving yards last year. His prop right now from a yardage standpoint is 925.5. His touchdown total is 5.5. PropStarz, do we like any of these overs? We leaning under? What's the play?
It's almost a stay away for me. While I love JSN, I rode him heavily going into last season, and he obviously paid off, and it does seem like on paper he's going to be the focal point of the offense. I do think he's going to be on the perimeter, which is a little bit new for him. I do think he has the capabilities of running routes outside, but Kupp profile is very similar to JSN and is obviously primarily a slot receiver at this stage of his career, and that's really where JSN thrived last season. So I think he's going to be lining up a bit more outside. I also don't think we're going to see the same passing volume with Sam Darnold under center. We also don't know what the chemistry is like between Darnold and JSN. It wouldn't shock me if maybe he prefers Cooper Kupp as a target. So there's a lot I haven't seen. I do believe very strongly in JSN as a player. I just think the situation has significantly downgraded for JSN. So it's a wait and see. I want to see if these guys have chemistry. I want to see JSN's role in the offense. I want to see where he's running the most routes, because I think in high leverage situations, he'll be primarily operating on the perimeter, which is a bit new for JSN. So I'm presently staying away from this number, even though I do think it's low. I do think it's obtainable. But yeah, for now, it's a stay away until further notice.
Emory, based on the Sam Darnold take, I suspect, and I don't know, but I suspect you lean to the overs on JSN.
Yeah, at some point it's about players, not plays, and they're going to find their best players. And guys like him are savvy enough to work themselves open. I love the Cooper Kupp comp. That's a very good comp for him. I think he'll get open and go over both of these numbers this season.
All right. Good takes there. And by the way, I just want to point out, because there was one more question we didn't get to, but the win total was 8.5. And I know that, Emory, you think there's value in that over of plus 115. And PropStarz with a head nod, I think you like the under there quite a bit.